I had no idea how sick I was. And when I went to when I woke up off the operating table, the room was full of people, and I never forget my brother Tommy there. He had a tear running down the side of his face, and he said, he always called me Eddie. He said, "We got some bad news for you, Eddie." And the doctor said, "Yeah, we do, Mr. Thompson. You've got 4th stage pancreatic cancer."
What? And a pain, carnation.
There's no reason your body has to be your jail cell. You can live in this peaceful moment with all the energy. You can let your spirit live now. And that's the point that I want to get to. We are all spiritual beings in eternity. That oneness, that nowness is alive. And that, even Albert Einstein said energy cannot be created or destroyed. And the energy of that last thought, that last breath you have will live, you can't die. I think we as human beings have really lost the art of seeing beauty. We don't know what beauty is. We're so lost in becoming something or going someplace or that we never live in the moment. And the moment is the only time that's real.
Oh, that's my last dance, right?
We started that IV out 6 years ago with just 3 strands coming around the end, and I wanted to see, my idea when we did it was to cover the whole wall with ivy. How beautiful it is to be sharing our life and that ivy's life and the life of this moment, I guess. It's all one life.
My business is, it's such a hard business. It's so competitive, and it takes a lot to be profitable. And when you're sick, it's harder to be on top of it. But yes, I love this business. It's been so good to me, and I hope the people that come after me, it's such a vital part of Toma. It serves weddings and anniversaries and graduations and 90th birthdays, and it's a wonderful institution. It's been awful good to me. I love my life, I guess. I've been so blessed with everything I've done. And then I was blessed when I got the teepee back. The people that I sold it to couldn't make the money and couldn't make the payments, and I got it back in 1993. And it's really been that's when we started our free Thanksgiving dinner, just out of gratefulness that I got it back and the business was good and it was paying the bills. So the natural growth of the teepee was just buying these old buildings and fixing it up and making the connection, adding on, knocking out walls. I remember just swinging a sledgehammer, knocking those walls out on the other side, me and another man. It would be the last buildings on the block that wasn't teepee, so we thought that it would probably be a wonderful addition. That's when we built the banquet hall, and it just seems like whatever we've done, we've been blessed with, and we've always been able to do it. My youngest brother Art works for me, and he's always checking on me. My sister Julie, who's been my partner ever since I came to Toma. Who I couldn't have done a thing without. She's done everything. When she comes every other month, and she's such a huge part, even now, of running this and helping me. Tommy, it has stopped almost weekly, and if not weekly, bi-weekly, he comes in and checks on me, calls me every other day, so he's deeply concerned about my cancer also. My daughter, the nurse, doctor of nursing, and who's the professor in the University of Kentucky, she is very into my cancer, and she has been a huge part of researching it and different things we should try. And what a joy to have somebody like that, with the love of a daughter.
The energy you're creating is the energy that you're in, and that's the energy of the whole planet. And we have an opportunity to change our consciousness, and if we don't do that, then I don't see how we can survive.
I just know I was a cowboy. I was all boy, played baseball and football and ran and tag, and I was a strong kid. I used to do push-ups every day. My dad, who I idolized, boxed in college, and back then they used to have the Wednesday night fights are on the air with Gillette Cavalcade of Sports, and I was, I'd go 15 rounds out with whoever was fighting that night. I just loved to be with my dad when we'd watch the boxing matches. So I was a boxer, I was a cowboy, I was a 10-year-old boy who was just full of life, and everything was a wonderment. I was 24 when I bought my first bar, and married with Kathy, and we really we lived above it, and it worked out good, and she worked sometimes down there. She didn't really care for it, but she was very good at it. And people kind of like to see us together. I've been the youngest bar owner. It seemed to attract most of the young people to the bar. And then I sold that bar, and I went to work for the penitentiary in Oxford. And I stayed there, and I bought the grocery store in Kendall. Always had to have 2 jobs going. I always thought that was the only way I could ever get way ahead. So bought a grocery store in Kendall after I sold the bar in Elroy. And then I sold the grocery store in Kendall and bought a bar in Elroy again. And that was really the rock and roll bar, the second one. It was a farmer bar, and both of them were Mr. Ed's Saloon. But the one down below became it wasn't the same as it was before. And that's another point I'd like to make. You can never recapture the past. People remember the good times they had in the past on a certain situation, and they think, well, we should just go back and do that again. But you can never recapture the past. You go on with the living in the moment. I thought maybe I could capture the past when I bought that bar and have the kind of business I had up above, but it was it was all young. It was a different. It was very hard on my marriage. 2 twin boys came up from Kentucky, got in a fight in my bar, and had to pull their .22 out and shot up around the outside of the bar. And I broke that up and ran them out. And it was always that element, that was the type of bar it was. It was rough and tough, and I didn't mind it. I kind of liked that world myself, I guess. So if I was going to be in a rough and tough world, I wanted to be the toughest one. So I used to work out a lot, lift weights. I'd practice my boxing or punching bags. So I was always in good shape. Most of the fights down there, I was in them one way or the other, either breaking them up or pulling or something. I got awful tired of it, let me tell you. I broke up a lot of fights. I was in an awful lot of fights. I'm sure glad that way of life is in the past. My life at 30 became awareness of that all the dreams were, there's the things I didn't do to fulfill what I wanted to do. I see that was my own mistakes, and I was aware of them. I was happily married and had raised a family, but also working 2 jobs, very, very ego-orientated in the sense that I wanted a nice home, and I wanted a good paying job, and I wanted to make enough money that we could have whatever we wanted. So money was a big part of 30 and that young married life. I think money is a big part of most young married lives, finding homes and furniture, and it's just growing together. So 30 was it was a good time. It was a strong time of my marriage, probably, and there was a lot of love with Kathy and I and the kids. So it was a good time. The moments of love in my life are the strongest moments, by far.